Good morning, folks, and may I wish you a very happy Monday. I hope and pray that as you get up and get on your way this morning that everything's well. Certainly am praying that those of you that are dealing with power outages are no longer dealing with them. I know the wind really picked up yesterday. It didn't help. I don't think it helped any of those that are dealing with power outages, but I sure do hope and pray that all that is back to normal, and praying that you have a wonderful day in the Lord. Yesterday was a wonderful day of worship. I know that our numbers were down a little bit. I don't know why that was. I guess there was some sickness going around, and maybe just people weren't able to get out for whatever reason. But just want to remind you that worship still happens. If you're sick, that is what it is. But come on out and worship God if you're able to. I'm talking about physically able or health able. If that's the case, be in the service of worship, because nothing replaces it. We put our messages on YouTube and Facebook, but that does not replace being in person to worship. This morning I was reading in my devotional, and one verse was the key theme, and it's in John chapter 8 and verse number 11. And you all know the story. It's the story of Jesus and the woman caught in adultery. And in verse number 11, he says to the woman, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." Think about that right there. That's what Jesus tells each and every one of us when we come to faith in Jesus Christ, because we are under condemnation for our sin before we come to Jesus Christ. But when we come to him in faith, he says, "I'm not going to condemn you. Now go and sin no more." And he admonishes us not to be enticed by those old sins, those old temptations, those things that we tend to get ourselves involved in. And the author of the devotional, he likened it to something that hit home for me. He likened it to being susceptible to poison ivy. Now, when I was growing up, thank God I was never susceptible to poison oak or poison ivy, running around the farm doing all the stuff that we did. I never had to deal with that. Now, I had a lot of friends that did have to deal with it, but for whatever reason, providentially, I guess it was, I wasn't susceptible to it. But a couple summers ago, is when I was stationed at Fort Lee, when I was still on active duty. Being at Fort Lee, I was close to home, so I was able to come home quite a bit. And I was working on fences around the farm, trying to keep up the fences. And I, without even thinking, I was moving some trees and some stuff off the fences, and I wasn't even paying attention to the fact that it was poison ivy. The leaves were not there. It was just the little branches that coil up the tree. And sure enough, it wasn't very long. Both of my arms were covered in the reaction to that. So naturally, what's my go-to now? I know what to look for and know to leave it alone. Friends, we know what to look for when it comes to sin. Do we know to leave it alone? Jesus told the woman caught in adultery, "Go and sin no more." And that's what he tells us as well. Christian, go and sin no more. Now, having said that, we are still going to sin. We are still going to make an error. But what Jesus is talking about is those things that we will get ourselves entangled with, maybe something that's in our past. And we know that type of thing is going to be a temptation for us. It's going to, just like the poison ivy vine, wrap itself around us. And we'll be susceptible to sin. And see, when that happens and we're susceptible to sin, then our salvation is not gone. I want to make myself clear on that. You do not lose your salvation once you're saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ. But you can still be out of fellowship. You can still be out of sync, as it were. And you think about that poison ivy vine, and you might know it better than me. You might be susceptible to it. You may have been for your entire life. But that vine, it wraps itself around you. And then next thing you know, you're ensnared and you're starting to feel the reaction to it. But Jesus reminds us, go and sin no more. Stay away from those things that'll have that tendency to cause that reaction. Now, put it in my context. Nowadays, anytime I see something crawling up a tree like that, I leave it alone. Better still, I was trimming some branches next to my mailbox a couple years ago, and I happened to see that very thing. And you know what I did? I got out my backpack sprayer full of Roundup, and I killed it. Because I don't want to be ensnared in that. And folks, Jesus tells us, go and sin no more. The woman caught in adultery, my guess is that was probably her Achilles heel, as it were. And Jesus knew that. And when she came to faith in him, he said, go and sin no more. Don't get yourself ensnared with those things that will cause that reaction of sin in your life. Friends, he tells us that as well. Whatever your Achilles heel is, whatever your poison ivy is, as it were, Jesus reminds us, go and sin no more. Stay away from it. Don't let that thing that you're susceptible to ensnare you. And I hope and pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful day in the Lord today. Love you, folks, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. God bless you.